You don't open old conversations by accident. It usually happens late at night, when everything is quiet, when there's nothing urgent left to distract you. And suddenly your thumb scrolls back months, sometimes years, rereading messages you already know by heart. And the strange part is, you're not looking for information. You already remember what was said, yet something pulls you back anyway. A specific message, a moment, a version of yourself that existed inside that conversation. Most people assume this is nostalgia or overthinking, but psychologically, something much deeper is happening. Your brain is not revisiting the conversation. It's revisiting unfinished emotion. Human memory doesn't store experiences like recordings. It stores emotional meaning. When an interaction ends without clear closure, your mind keeps a small psychological loop open, almost like a tab running quietly in the background. During the day, responsibilities keep that tab hidden. But at night, when stimulation drops and your brain shifts into reflection mode, those unresolved emotional signals become louder. That's why the urge appears when you're tired or alone. Your brain finally has space to process what it postponed earlier. And here's something most people never notice. You rarely reread conversations that felt completely resolved. You go back to the ones that changed something in you. Messages where you almost said more. Moments where tone felt different than expected. Conversations connected to relationships that slowly faded instead of clearly ending. Psychologists call this incomplete emotional processing. Your mind replays the interaction not to relive it, but to understand it differently now. Each reread is an attempt to reinterpret meaning with your current emotional awareness. That's why certain lines suddenly feel heavier than they did before. Your brain is updating the story. But here's where it becomes more personal. When you reread old chats, you're also comparing versions of yourself. The way you spoke, the way you reacted, the things you tolerated or ignored. Without realizing it, your brain is measuring growth. You're asking a silent question. Would I respond the same way today? And sometimes the answer makes you proud. Other times it makes your chest tighten slightly. Because rereading isn't just memory, it's self-reflection disguised as curiosity. Another detail people overlook is predictability. Old conversations feel emotionally safe because the outcome is already known. Unlike current relationships filled with uncertainty, past interactions cannot surprise you anymore. Your brain prefers familiar emotional territory when it feels vulnerable. Even painful memories can feel comforting when they are predictable. That's why scrolling through old messages can feel strangely calming and heavy at the same time. Comfort and discomfort existing together. And if you've ever noticed yourself rereading the same specific conversation repeatedly, there's usually one hidden reason your brain keeps returning there. Not because you miss the person exactly, but because something important about that moment still feels unfinished. And understanding what that unfinished feeling actually is changes how you see the habit entirely. What makes this behavior even more fascinating is that it almost always happens at night, and that timing is not random. During the day, your brain operates in problem-solving mode. Attention is directed outward, toward tasks, conversations, responsibilities, and constant stimulation. But at night, something shifts neurologically. The brain reduces external focus and increases internal processing, a state psychologists sometimes associate with emotional consolidation. This is when experiences you didn't fully process earlier begin resurfacing quietly. Your mind starts organizing emotional memories the same way it organizes information during sleep preparation. And old conversations become perfect material for that process because they already contain emotional context. You're not just remembering words. You're re-experiencing how you felt when you read them the first time. That's why certain messages suddenly hit harder at night than they ever did during the day. Your emotional defenses are lower, and your brain allows deeper interpretation. But here's the part most people don't realize. When you reread old chats, your brain is often searching for certainty. Humans struggle more with ambiguity than with loss itself. A clear ending hurts, but uncertainty lingers. Conversations that slowly faded, replies that changed tone. Moments that never received explanation create unanswered questions your brain keeps trying to resolve. Each reread becomes an attempt to notice something you might have missed. A hidden meaning, a clue, a sentence that explains everything. Even though logically you know the answer probably isn't there, emotionally, your brain keeps checking. And strangely, this isn't unhealthy by default. It's your mind trying to complete a narrative. Humans understand life through stories, and unfinished stories create tension the brain naturally wants to close. There's also an identity layer beneath this habit. Old conversations preserve versions of you that no longer exist. The way you joked, trusted, hesitated, or cared reflects who you were at that moment in time. When you reread those messages, you're not only revisiting another person, you're meeting a past version of yourself. Sometimes that version feels familiar. Sometimes it feels distant. And that contrast creates a powerful realization about growth. You begin noticing how much you've changed, what you would tolerate differently now, what you understand more clearly today. That recognition can feel bittersweet because growth often means acknowledging emotions you once didn't fully understand. And maybe that's why the habit feels so private. It isn't really about missing the past. It's about making sense of it. The late-night silence simply gives your brain permission to slow down enough to connect. Emotional dots that daytime distractions keep scattered. So if you've ever caught yourself scrolling through old conversations long after midnight, it may not mean you're stuck or unable to move on. It may mean your mind is quietly organizing emotional experiences, trying to understand your own story more clearly. Some people process emotions by talking. Others write things down. And some revisit moments that once mattered, allowing understanding to arrive a little later than the experience itself. And if this explanation felt uncomfortably accurate, you're probably not the only one who does this more often than they admit. You can subscribe if you want to explore more of the psychology behind behaviors that seem small on the surface, but reveal something deeper about how the human mind processes memory, emotion, and change.